Turn off your cell phones, everyone, as usual. Thank you for coming. So I'm fortunate today to be able to introduce ASU Athletics Director Ray Anderson, who all of you know well, his lovely wife Buffy, and ASU Women's head tennis coach, and also Pac-12 Coach of the Year today, Sheila McInerney. So before I turn it over to Ray, I want to review some of our success stories over the last few years since Ray Anderson's joined us as our athletics director. So we started the Sun Devil Stadium Reinvention Project, and we've had record-breaking fundraising, donations from the community. Most importantly, Ray and Buffy stepped up and donated $500,000, and so did Coach Graham and his wife, which was spectacular for our department. We also moved ASU baseball to Phoenix Muni. Sun Devil student athletes have earned over a 3.0 in every semester that Ray's been our leader. We won the Territorial Cup each of the last 3 years against the teams down south. The $32 million donation to add hockey, women's triathlon, and women's lacrosse was groundbreaking for us. We're the only Power 5 school to manage and control our own multimedia rights. We've grown the Sun Devil Club to make it the largest dues-paying organization in the Pac-12. We signed transformational apparel partnership with Adidas. We formed an alliance with the Intercollegiate Tennis Association to move its headquarters here to Tempe. And Ray has a big vision for Olympic sports, and he hired prolific Olympic coaches like Bob Bowman and Zeke Jones. Now we have another opportunity to advance an Olympic sport here at ASU, the sport of tennis. About a year ago, Ray and I were in a meeting where we found out that the Whiteman Tennis Center was likely the first facility to move based on the development of the Athletics Facilities District. So instead of seeing it as an obstacle, Ray saw it as an opportunity and said, let's take advantage of this opportunity and use it to transform tennis here in our community. So Ray's overall goal is to turn the Valley into the epicenter of tennis in the Southwest. To make Ray's vision a reality, we identified 3 steps we needed to take. And number 1, form strategic partnerships, like I mentioned with the ITA, Adidas, as well as the USTA. Number 2, advance ASU tennis, provide more resources, expand women's and add men's tennis in the future. 3 is build a state-of-the-art tennis facility, not just for ASU tennis, but for the entire community. So Ray is doing more than just setting a vision. He and Buffy are passionate about tennis and are making an unprecedented commitment. I'm excited to say that Buffy and Ray Anderson are personally donating $1 million as a lead gift to advance tennis at ASU in the Valley. So I will now let Ray make the official announcement and provide the details behind the contribution.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming. We are fortunate, Buffy and I, to be a part of ASU, the institution, Sun Devil Athletics, as a vital part of the institution, and in fact, this entire Valley. It's embraced us beyond our wildest dreams, and so we are appreciative of being a part of the community. And the Sun Devil athletic experience has really been phenomenal. As someone who went to school and played 2 varsity sports, being the beneficiary of the student-athlete experience is what really has driven my life. So Buffy and I certainly are passionate about the sport of tennis. It's a beautiful sport. It knows no bounds in terms of, in my view, ethnicity or socioeconomic standing, and in many, many cases, age is no barrier to really enjoying a wonderful sport. And indeed, it's an international opportunity. So the other thing that really intrigued us about this opportunity here at ASU was the commitment to Olympic sports. All the sports are important, and advancing Olympic sports is really key. So as we were able to view what was happening in our Olympic sports, and particularly tennis, it became clear to us that to have a whole program that positioned us to really advance tennis, we needed to resurrect men's tennis. And so we were proud to announce today that effective immediately, we are reinstating and funding our men's varsity tennis program. And so there are many folks who are supportive of this vision. Certainly Tim Russell and his colleagues from the Intercollegiate Tennis Association who are here today, who have moved their offices to our campus, was part of the strategy. But also we need to thank and really point out our partners, Adidas. Mark King and his colleagues, his senior folks as Adidas. When we went into discussions with them about a new relationship 2 years ago, it wasn't about the normal transactional relationship. And in fact, we talked about being able to provide us resources going forward that would enable us to advance our programs, including adding sports as appropriate. And so, we are delighted that Mark King and the Adidas folks have contributed through their obligations to us willingly. They are excited about contributing $4 million to helping us fund the restart, the resurrection of men's tennis. So to Mark King and his folks, we now have $5 million that we know will get us up and started in a very, very meaningful way. And so what we can proudly tell families like the Whitemans and the Robesons and the Thunderbirds who years ago stepped up to support tennis, men's and women's, that in fact their contributions are now going to be brought back whole, because we're going to have a whole program of men's and tennis. So we can say to the Whitemans and the Robesons, the Thunderbirds and others, that we're back. And we're going to be back in a big way, but we will also say to them, we're going to need your help some more. And one of the beliefs we have is that philosophically, if you put skin in the game, I think people respond. And so as we go forward to raise the rest of the money to make sure that on our watch, neither men's or women's tennis or any other Olympic sport will ever go away. That's just unacceptable to us. So our goal is to fundraise vigorously to get to the point where we will never be under threat that men's or women's tennis will ever be taken away from us again. And in fact, our goal is to get to a point where men's and women's tennis may be the first two sports, should be the first two sports at ASU that get fully endowed. And that is our mission. And so we're delighted to be a part of the resurrection. We couldn't be more proud to be a part of reinstating men's tennis. And I've got just unbelievable confidence in where tennis is going to go, not just for ASU men's and women's program, but for tennis in the Valley, in the Southwest, as a result of the partnerships we have and the people who are dedicated to seeing this great sport spread across this valley like never before. And so we're proud to be a part of it. And so it is my pleasure to introduce my wife, Buffy. I can assure you she loves herself some tennis.
Well, everybody knows it took me a little bit of time to kind of transition from New York to Tempe. But I will say that in the second year, I have felt the passion of our student athletes and what it takes to be a student athlete. And tennis helped me see that. Those girls work so hard. And so I really have got on board, and I think that bringing the boys home to ASU tennis is huge, and we need help to make sure that happens. I know it will. So I'm just excited that I'm a part of it with Ray, and looking forward to seeing the future.
Yeah, I mean, this is, needless to say, an exciting day. I got an email from Doug Tamarell, Doug, our sports information, with, if those of you who don't know me, I'm pretty emotional usually, so he thought the under-over for me starting to cry today was going to be about 5 minutes. But I think I'm going to be okay, Doug. This is too exciting to cry. But honestly, 8 years ago, I think I was crying. And I might cry when they dropped the men's team. It was a sad day. And today is a happy day. It's a really happy day. So yeah, I thought I could be okay. You know, I can't help myself. Exactly. I don't, and it's not a violation to gamble. This is not a sport. Crying's not an NCAA sport, so we're okay. We haven't broken any rules, so that's important. But with that being said, seriously, I'd like to just thank Ray and Buffy for their contribution and their support. I mean, those of you know that Ray's been here short time and what he's done for our athletic department and particularly the Olympic sports. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. You look what swimming is now, one of the sports that was cut, 8 years ago in Zeke Jones and wrestling. I mean, it's been incredible. And those sports have been instrumental, I think, in the community, not only ASU and the community. And I think that's where we're hoping to see men's tennis go. Not only, it's going to be benefit, no question, to Arizona State. It's going to be a huge benefit to our women's tennis program, no question. If you look at around the country, the best programs in the country, the men and women are successful. The Stanfords, the Cals, the SCs, the UCLAs, the Florida, the Georgias, the Dukes. It's just, a lot of those teams with the NCAA coming up, now they had the announcement yesterday. A lot of those teams co-host men and women together. And that's something that we certainly have a passion to want to do. And so I think, like I said, Ray and Buffy, it's going to be a benefit to, our women's program. Not only that, it's going to be a benefit to, certainly our recruiting. The way the sport of tennis goes, I mean, these kids, when they're 10, 12 years old, they play junior tournaments together. It's always the boys and girls together, 12s, 14s, 16s, and 18s. So they've grown up playing together. So the players know each other, and quite frankly, it's like the best players seem to know the best players. So I think it's going to be a huge boon for both our programs to work together. I mean, when Lou Belkin had men's team here, Lou and I worked great together. For the time he was here, the success of our men's program, certainly Sarkeesian winning the NCAAs in '95, Gary Donnelly being a quarterfinalist at Wimbledon. So we've had a ton of men's success. I mean, if you look at the Pac-12 in general, you've had, the old days, Connors and McEnroe and Stan Smith and Stevie Johnson, a young one coming through here, and obviously our guys, Sarkeesian and the Bryan brothers. So it's great. I mean, Pac-12 tennis, men's tennis is fantastic, and I think those of you who love tennis, even if you don't, you're going to be huge fans. It's fantastic, and you're going to see Buffy out at every match, so it actually takes a little pressure off me. So now she's got to worry about both the men's and women's, just not our program. But like I said, I think it's fantastic. It's a great day, super exciting, and I'll tell you, the men's job is going to be a highly, highly coveted job. It's a great job. I've already had a lot of, sort of the words gotten out, and even over the last, few years, 5 years or so after it's been dropped, I mean, people couldn't believe it and just think it's one of the best jobs in the country. And I think in the next, month or so when the whole job search goes, I think you'll see it. But I think it's exciting, but not only, like I said, Arizona State, I think in the community, if you look at Ray's vision, what he's done, I think he sees the 8 courts that we have at Whiteman. It's a beautiful facility, but it's underutilized. Our club team uses it and the women's tennis team, but it needs to be used. Ray and Buffy have their own court. They got court 1 every morning they want. Sunday mornings at 7, and they're out there, but it'll be utilized by a lot of people in the community. So, I think Ray and Buffy's vision for tennis in the Valley is fantastic, and there couldn't be a more excited person in here. Maybe Buffy, but I don't know, than myself. So thank you to Ray and Buffy and actually the whole ASU community for making this possible.
We'll open it up for questions now, and we have a microphone that can be passed around for any questions.
Coach, first question, what goes through your mind when you find out your athletic director is going to donate, some of his own money to resurrect a program like the men's tennis program? Because that's not an everyday thing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you can't be more proud, really, to be honest with you. You looked at what he did for football and, even for swimming, just hiring who he did in Zeke and what's happened. And you're at a loss for words, quite frankly. I usually am not at a loss for words, but this sort of puts me at a loss for words. It's fantastic. And I think once it gets out, I think we had I don't know if I can, we had a conference call a while back with some of the board of directors in our organization, and they were just flabbergasted when they heard that this was a possibility. So I think it speaks volumes. I don't even think words can express.
I had a question about the connection with Adidas, and when you first made this move to switch to Adidas, was something like this discussed at the time, that they could make a contribution in another area rather than just the apparel side of it?
No, it was a very specific discussion. Part of our discussion with Adidas, as I said earlier, Jeff, is we didn't want a typical transactional relationship that you have with all the other schools that you represent, because we're ASU and we've got a broader vision. And part of that means we're going to look to you to help us advance our Olympic sports in particular, including all of our women's sports. And so part of our discussions very specifically, and in fact provisions in the contract, and the contracts are public, so I can tell you there's a provision in there that says with every varsity sport we add, Adidas pays us an additional $75,000 a year as part of our basic deal. But there's another provision in there, and it's public, so I can tell you that starts at $500,000 a year each year of the contract, that says that is to be utilized at the discretion of the athletic department to advance, market, promote, and in fact, very clearly part of advancing and promoting is adding new varsity sports along the way. So that was a discussion that occurred as part of our core discussions with Mark King and Jim Murphy and Chris McGuire 2 years ago. There's also a provision in there that provides for 12 internships that will benefit Sun Devil Athletics, that Adidas, use whichever one you like, will provide to Sun Devil Athletics to benefit our institution and most importantly our student athletes. So yes, it was by design starting 2 years ago that those discussions occurred. And so Adidas is a real partner invested in the welfare and the advancement of what we want to do with regard to serving our student athletes, our university, and our community.
Ray, what is your long-term goal for the Olympic sports here?
Part of my desire coming in was President Crow's aspiration that in fact we would be able to make Tempe, this area, the Olympic Training Center, the place where folks who aspire to be Olympians pick your sport. They should come and be in this community, particularly around this campus, to train year-round. And so tennis is one of those, wrestling is one of those, swimming is one of those, lacrosse is one of those, track and field. If it's an Olympic sport, we need to make this a place where folks know they can come 12 months a year and train to reach their goals. So this program, without tennis as an Olympic sport and as an international sport, was just not whole. Well, it's going to be whole now.
Ray, you talked about wanting to continue the fundraising efforts for men's tennis. Do you have an overall goal as far as a number? This is what we need to reach to make sure we're set, or you're just going to try to raise as much as you can?
Until Rocky or someone else tells me to stop, we're going to raise. I need very specifically to know the number, and that's a great question because this will be a challenge to Rocky and them. They probably already have the information, they just haven't told me. I want to know the number that needs to be reached for us to permanently endow men's and women's tennis forever. And whatever, if it's 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, we need to get to a number where we know that in perpetuity there is going to be money being generated through the interest or wherever that number, whatever it is, puts off, will put us at ease at men's and women's tennis, will never go away because of finances.
And our short-term goal is to raise another $5 million to match what Ray and Adidas have already done through our community.
Coach, real quick, just your reaction to what Ray just said.
You know, I think you're already seeing the fruits of that. You know, with the adding the, lacrosse and triathlon. You've got what they're doing with the swimming program, with Bob. I mean, you got Michael Phelps going to be your volunteer assistant next year. Are you kidding me? And Zeke, what he's doing, the #1 recruiting class in the country. I mean, I was here when wrestling was in its, certainly its heyday, winning the national title, I think in '88. Most of you guys, half of you weren't born probably then, but, but I just think it's really an issue. It's a holistic approach. It's President Crow. It's access. It's affordability. It's excellence, and that's what it is. When you get the community involved in all these sports, whether it be swimming, tennis, wrestling, lacrosse, summer camps, and in the sport, and Ray mentioned it. You've got tennis. You've got the 6 and under. We have a lot of what I call because they're my age group, the 55 plus, that play and come to our matches, and so it's just fantastic, and that's what it really is. I mean, 10 years ago, I probably would have told you I want a tennis facility just for the men's and women's tennis team. We need to be honed in, and that's it. We don't. But now, you need community sport, community involvement, and that's the best thing for everybody. It's a holistic approach, and I think college athletics in general sometimes gets away with that. It's win at all cost, and I think if you look at what Ray and Buffy and President Crow and just our university is about, it's about community involvement, a holistic approach, and it's a great way to do things, particularly in college athletics. We're not professional sports.
With the reinstatement of this program, what is the next step kind of moving forward to go into the beginning of next season? Are the building blocks already there, being that this was a program previously at the school?
And a very prominent one. Tennis was the second oldest sport here at ASU, second only to football in 1987. For years, from I think it was 7, 8 years later, it was the early 1900s all the way until 8 years ago when it was unplugged and allowed to wither and go away, so that now we have it back, and it should never go away because it's a great sport. It provides just unbelievable opportunities scholastically and athletically for student athletes, and so the vision for this program going forward, Sheila alluded to it. It's where we're going is not just going to be a tennis program for Sun Devil athletics, men's and women's. It will be for the ITA, it will be for the USTA, it will be for the Paralympians, it will be for the youth, it will be for the adults. It will be for training and development between those, for those who go between college and now they want to play professionally and get to the top 100. My understanding is there's not a real central place where they can go and develop, certainly not in the southwestern United States. We need to do that. We need to be a place where kids from the underserved areas can come here and get free clinics. We need to be a place where kids who come from means can come here and train in first-class environment. And so the facility that will ultimately be built will accommodate, in my view, Rocky might, pull me and tug me a little bit, accommodate all those things, as we should. And then it's a community asset. We're talking about inclusivity and embeddedness in the community, and reaching a broad audience, being global, being international, being just more welcoming than anywhere else. Well, that's what we should do, in my view, when we ultimately build a tennis facility. It should be a community asset that also very, very much so serves our men's and women's teams at a very elite level, but at the end of the day, it belongs to all of our community. That's how we see it.
Ray, granted that you just officially announced, we don't necessarily need a name, but have you considered do you have an idea who your head coach would be for the men's team?
No, we don't. As Sheila says, we have a real good sense that this is going to be a very coveted job. And as people have speculated about this job coming open, it would be disingenuous to say that folks haven't kind of put out the feelers. What I can tell you is that this is going to be a very coveted position. And we will commence that process, as I think Rocky said, immediately.
When you meet with your peers, your other athletic directors, and you are making moves like this, what kind of reaction do you get from them to what you're doing here?
Depends on who they are. Some look at me with disdain. Others look at me with like, "Are you crazy?" And then others look at me and say, "Hey, man, keep after it because you're setting a tone that perhaps we can get people in our community to get excited and follow suit." So at the end of the day, Jeff, the only reaction that I really care about is the reaction from our family members, and that's the Sun Devil athletic community. And of course, when it comes to making a donation, as we have, I get the person to my right here is the one that I'm most concerned about. But she is absolutely, positively, unequivocally committed to everything we're doing as a family to try to advance this forward.
Piggybacking off of that, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying one more. Of those reactions you just mentioned, what is the predominant one that you get? Three different varied reactions.
Surprised, and very frankly, I think somewhat stunned that we're actually pulling it off when others are really struggling to even articulate how they should keep programs. And, you know, my answer to it is that, you know what, you just have to find a way to do it fiscally responsibly. And you've got to find a way to motivate and inspire and excite people about your vision. And I tell them that I found in the ASU community that those people and those pockets of engagement exist. You just have to roll up your sleeves, work hard, and go find them and be committed to finding them. So the response is usually, really? And then kind of, how are you doing that? And, you know, that's kind of cool.
Kind of, you know, this question could be for Ray or Buffy or both. How does the donation discussion even start? Who initiates it? I mean, it doesn't seem like a normal dinner conversation. Like, I usually wonder, like, what Red Box we're going to get that night. You guys are talking about donating
I'm going to let Buffy handle that one.
That's interesting. Beach house in South Carolina, tennis in ASU. Tennis wins. That was a discussion.
Any intelligent spouse or significant other, I would advise you have that discussion before you go publicly with it. Because it could go like the other way, and now you've got to, you know, step out of the public stuff because you're probably not going to survive it privately if you haven't had that discussion in advance. But no, seriously, you know, we have serious discussions about this, and you know, we love this place, and we see ourselves here for as long as, you know, good Lord willing and health permits, and our boss, Dr. Crow, allows it. We'll be here. This is our home. This is our place. These are our students. These are our friends. They're our colleagues. So, you know, we're I don't know what the word is. We're fortunate. We're honored. We're blessed to have the capacity to do it. And what better place to invest than in the student-athlete experience that we've benefited so much from? It's an honor.
I will say that in everybody's life, decisions like this change the course of your life. They do. So to people who want to feel that passion and be involved in a community that embraces so much what we're doing, it will change the course of their life. You just have to make that commitment and let it happen.
I have a question, Ray, about the new partnership with the ITA. When that was recently announced that they're coming to Tempe, how much did that impact? Was that somewhat of the final stepping stone? Because I know at that time there were murmurs of the team coming back, and now with the official announcement, how much did that help in rebuilding this program, bringing it back?
It accelerated the discussion. So, you know, I am a believer in good timing, and when Tim and Dan Blakely, our colleague, and Erica got together and I guess started talking about the possibility that the ITA would want to relocate and come to Tempe, and then when you do your work and you figure that Tim Russell, who's there in the audience, spent 22 years here at ASU, has been involved with tennis at the USTA level, is from this area. then you say that's not by coincidence. There's something about that was kind of the timing and circumstances like too ideal. And so when it was presented that, you know, they're ready to move, would we be interested? Then Rocky and I got together, and, you know, we're not the two smartest guys in the world, but it took us about, I don't know what, 10 seconds to say, you know what, this may be it. This may be the opportunity to really advance this thing, and very frankly, do it in a partnership that will allow us to advance the community component of this much quicker. And President Crow and a lot of what we've done on campus have been through partnerships, ASU and Starbucks, and there's many, many examples. So the Mayo Clinic coming up. So the whole thing was, well, if you can strategically bring in partners to help you advance the mission of the university, which in fact helps you advance the mission of the community, then you got to go for it. And so it was timing. So the ITA and, you know, the Adidas timing starting 2 years ago. You know, maybe I'm just lucky when it comes to timing, but I'll take it. But it was like one of those things.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you.